Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. So we have a video probably a lot of people have been waiting for. This is the PvP Mythic Charm guide for all heroes related to PvP. This is important because we're at a point where all of your Dream Realm heroes, AFK stage heroes have their optimal charms, and you now want to focus on your PvP heroes as well. And knowing their optimal charm set is then obviously important. So we're using the infographic which was updated by Milan, Shoddy, Starlord, and Metazoa. So we're going to begin by talking about the Mage heroes. So Mage is going to be the first column, as you guys see here. Shamira is on the Butcher Charms, which is good because she's already on those for Dream Realm. And Hira also on Dream Realm, she's on Mystic Charms, and those are also probably her best charm set for PvP. So those two heroes are already covered for. Tassi, I think most people, if you've been playing for a few seasons, you would know that Blast Charms are considered the best charm set for Tassi. They increase like the duration of her Hypnotize, and they increase her damage of her ultimate. So if you're using Tassi in PvP, definitely Blast Charms are the way to go. And Tassi is still good, however, there are other heroes which have kind of, taken her place in PvP. Siren is really good on the Destructive Charms. So this is the thing. Destructive Charms are definitely the best thing for Siren for PvP. However, for AFK stages, some of the top pushers are using Acute Charms just for more artifact damage. However, if you just want to pick one charm set, go with the Destructive Charms because pretty much everyone's using Siren in PvP. Even on my pay-to-win Supreme Arena defense, I'm running Siren. So yeah, getting Destructive Charms will be good. Marcel will have the Sorcery Charms as the best charm set for her. This has been the case for the past few seasons as well, just to boost her damage by the most. Aurora Sorcery Charms, which are also the best for Dream Realm, so that's great news. Your Citrana will be on these, the blue shield charms, and these are going to give her energy, they're going to give her health and tankiness, which is important, of course, when you're running her, and she is meta for PvP. Like, I'm using her in my Clash Fronts, one of my Clash Fronts teams, Bonnie Nero damage team, the damage over time team. Galahad is going to be with the Blast Charms, same as Dream Realm, so that's good news. Krynai with the Sorcery Charms that increase the value of her shield, as well as increasing her damage. So that is why these are considered the optimal for her. Pippa, I think no one is using Pippa at all, but if you are, I guess you can go for the Acute Charms. Talion Insight Charms, but if you guys are running Talion and King Croker Dream on Boss, she's running the Healer Charms as are optimal for her, and I'm just running those also in PvP, even though I'm using her in one of my Clash Friends teams. So I just use my Dream Realm or Ravage Realm charms in PvP as well, because I can't also be bothered to be swapping back and forth all the time. But Insight technically, and also Mystic, but like I don't think anyone's really using Alsa nowadays, but yeah, Mystic Charms for her. Okay, moving on to the Marksman, Alicet, Arcane, and Sylvan Gale. The good news is both of these are also their best Dream Realm charms, so like, and even AFK stages for Sylvan, so like, these are the best charm set for all game modes. That's good news, you're just able to run them and not needing to worry about that. Bonnie, so they're saying Insight Charms, that increases Bonnie's tankiness and her skill power. I have her on the Sorcery Charms, it increases her ultimate damage as well. Now, it's just basically a toss-up. Do you want it to have a bit more survivability, or do you want it to have higher ultimate damage? You can choose between Sorcery and Insight. I don't think there's really a wrong decision between the two. Diurnal Kulu, okay, so Diurnal with the Sorcery Charms, definitely, that increases his damage the most, and if you're using him as a hyper carry, that's important. So if you're running Diurnal Sorcery Charms, just like with Marcel. Kulu, so they're saying Sorcery Charms on Kulu. Now, this is going to increase the thickness of our wall. It's basically going to need 10 hits to break the wall rather than 6 hits. Now, I think, personally, from my experience, it seems like even just without having skill power, the wall is tanky enough. And so I'm actually running Kulu on Acute Charms, because also those are good for AFK stages, generally speaking, and it gives her attack and haste, and the haste can allow her to cycle her cooldowns a bit more frequently. So for those reasons, I like Acute Charms. However, Sorcery Charms, if you want a thicker wall, basically, and you want higher ultimate damage, yes, Sorcery Charms can be the way to go. So it's really up to you about that. And then we have Zany Gale Charms. Yes, they're good, and they're also good for Dream Realm and boss content, so that's good news. Indris Arcane Charms, and probably those would also be his best charms for Dream Realm as well. So Titanic Charms onto Brian if you're running him, Mystic Charms onto Leica. Yes, Mystic Charms onto Leica, you want that skill power, and Odie with the Gale Charms if any last person is still running Odie in their PvP teams. Okay, so moving on to tanks, we have Dunlinger running the Resolute, I believe they're called. These blue goggle charms, these are the best for him. They give him ultimate power and energy on hit. And ultimate power prolongs the duration of his basically blocking, and then energy on hit allows him to cycle it. So that's really important. Blast charms on a gunner, and that's good news because also that's best for boss content, dream realm content, and gunner is very meta for PvP. Insight charms on a Theodore, definitely, yeah, because that increases the crit of the ally behind him, and it increases his own tankiness. So insight onto Theodore, Cheetah onto Callan. Also, this is really important because Callan is pretty meta, for especially with the Graveborn Phantom being so strong. So Cheetah charms increase his own tankiness, it increases his haste, so he can cycle his cooldowns more and get off more damage. You have Insight Charms onto Elna, which are the best charms for her. They increase the health of the ally who she's protecting. They increase her own health, and that is really valuable. Now, the thing is, for some AFK stages, for really hardcore pushers, sometimes she needs the acute charms because that increases your artifact damage. However, for the majority of players, like 99.9% of players, Insight charms will be perfectly fine on All Night. Even once you make it to those stages, you're going to be high enough level that probably you're going to pass with the Insight charms. But that's just one point to mention. But yeah, Insight definitely for PvP. And I have my All Night Insight now. Hepler, if you're using him, Mystic charms. I'm not using Hepler personally. And I have experimented with him. I think he's fine. But I don't think that he is... He is like I don't think he is game changing for PvP. So like you can slot him into a team, but like I would not say his top tier or really is needed for any team either. So that's why yeah, I haven't invested into him. We have Bear Charms onto Thorin, that's for PvP, but if you're running him Blast for boss content, that's fine as well. Like I'm running my Thorin on Blast, and I'm just running him in PvP on Blast as well. But Bear, yeah, it would definitely increase his tankiness. Mystic Charms onto Daemon, that is important, and that's also good for boss content. You have the Bear Charms onto Almas if you're using him for more tankiness. Sturdy Charms onto Fresto, and Sturdy Charms can work for boss content. However, usually Sorcery Charms and Fresto are better for boss content, so I would just still stick to Sorcery Charms, but yeah, Sturdy if you want to use Fresto dedicated for PvP. And Cheetah Charms for Gerda, and Gerda's not bad, honestly, in PvP, so if you are using her, yeah, but she is more on the niche side, and Cheetah Charms increase her tankiness and haste. Okay, so we're done with 3 classes, time to go to the other 3. So we have the Rogue class, class over here. This is going to be, yeah, Ravyon is probably one of the most dominant rogue heroes for PvP, and Arcane Charms are best for him for boss content, and they're also best for him for PvP, which is a good news. Lily May, so for PvP, you want Titanic Charms, because the attack and crit is going to boost her down for PvP content by the most. For PvE boss content, Sorcery Charms are actually better for Lily May, and that is because they increase basically the true damage cap, the maximum damage output against enemies who have like infinite maximum health. Because her multipliers are based on enemy maximum health, which in PvP is never going to actually hit the damage cap. However, in boss content, it is. So Sorcery Charms increase her damage against high health enemies, extremely high health enemies like bosses. That's why Sorcery is for that. But for Titanic Charms, they're better for PvP content. So if you're using Lily May in PvP and that's what you're focusing on, go for the Titanic Charms. If you want to use her in Ravage in the future, which we're probably going to need to, then you can go for Sorcery Charms, and you can also use that in PvP as well. It's fine in PvP, but like Titanic are better. And then we have Overlord Charms for Athalia. Those are the best for her to increase her damage output, and if you're running Athalia, you should get them. Blast Charms for Saida, which are also best for an AFK stages, so you'll probably no doubt already have them, but they are best for PvP. Eagle Charms on Shakir, if you're running him, it increases his ultimate power, and it increases his tankiness. That can be useful for PvP if you are running Shakir, especially if you're running like a Theodore Shakir combo for PvP. Now, the problem with that is it is awkward because like enemy Lily Mays can interrupt it and things. But yeah, if you are running that Eagle Charms onto Shakir, I run with the Resolute. So PvP Resolute Charms that gives energy on hit and ultimate power. However, for me, I'm running him, well, for AFK stages, I'm running with Mystic Charms, but you can run him with the Cheetah Charms even for PvP and AFK stages like a hybrid, haste and health. Yeah, I think you can't really go wrong with Iron Charms. A lot of them are decent options, so it's up to you. Furthermore, for PvP, they're saying Mystic Charms. Definitely you want to give him skill powers, either Arcane or Mystic Charms, so you can choose for either of them. Generally though, for Ravage Realm at the end of the season, it is usually the Arcane Charms which are best for him. However, they're really close usually, Mystic and Arcane, so yeah, I think it was Arcane best in the previous season, but like hardly any difference. And then you have Shadewing, Arcane Charms are best for him. It gives him skill power that increases his damage from the curse lashing out, and attack, of course, increases his damage output. So yeah, definitely Shadowing Arcane Charms, Reaper Charms onto Sylvina to give their that execution and nuke off enemies, and Butcher Charms onto Walker if you're running him, because he is a crit-based hero, and this amplifies crit and critical damage. So that's what we have for the Rogue. And interestingly, we don't have Lenya shown here. So some of the heroes are not shown here, I guess, if they're not really meta or used at all. But Lenya can also be the Butcher Charms, by the way, if you're running Lenya. Yeah. Okay. We have the support. Supports are a really important class, faction, Cassia, and so we have Selice and Contest, which the good news is these are also their best Dream Realm charms. Arcane charms are best for them for Dream Realm, the best for them for PvP. So like, you don't even have to worry about it. I mean, if you have these heroes, no doubt you already have their charms, and if you don't, get them ASAP. And both of these are meta supports for PvP. Pandora, now here's the thing. Pandora for Dream Realm needs the Blast charms. Sorcery Charms technically are better. They also do increase basically the attack power of the ally who's put into the box, Pandora's box. However, the thing is, running two charm sets is always a little bit awkward, swapping back and forth. So if you want to purely focus for PvP, yes, Sorcery Charms and Pandora are the best. They are better than Blast, but for Dream Realm, Blast is the way to go. And Ravage Realm as well. Ludovic is same kind of thing. Like, these are the healer charms, I believe. However, for Ravage Realm, when we're going to need to use them, Insight Charms are going to be best for Ludovic for the skill power. But for PvP specific, yes, the healer charms are technically better. But you can make do with Insight if you need to, and that's also good for boss content. So Nero, they have Reaper Charms. I think it depends now what you're using Nero as. So like, usually in my teams, I don't use Nero as a damage, because our damage is coming from the Graveborn Phantomal, right? So I use Nero as a support. And if you're talking about Nero as a support, I think the Eagle Charms are best for him, because that gives ultimate power, that gives him health. So he's tankier, number one. Number two, it increases the damage dealt of your ally who, when they are resurrected by Nero's basically effect. So for example, if you're applying this effect onto your Graveborn Phantomal, the Graveborn Phantomal gets killed and then he's resurrected by the Nero effect. If you have Eagle Charms on Nero, because it gives ultimate power, your Graveborn Phantomal is going to be dealing 80% of his damage rather than like 65%, basically enhanced damage. So that's why I would say Eagle Charms if you're using supportive Nero. If you're using Nero as a nuker, then yeah, you can go for Reaper. But nowadays, you're using Graveborn Phantomal as a nuker, so you don't need to have Reaper on the Nero. So Hugin, Mystic Charms, that's also best for AFK stages, and actually for a lot of Dream Realm, Mystic Charms have actually been the best on Hugin. It was only one day for one pay-to-win team where Blast Charms were actually best on Hugin, but there are always going to be that cases, but like, Mystic overall has been the best installed charm set for Hugin, even for Dream Realm. Wizard Charms on Rowan, however, you can also go for Sorcery Charms on Rowan. They're both very similar. They give him ultimate power, which is the most important because that boosts the energy he gives to your allies. You can go for either of them. Eagle Charms are the twins, and like usually, so sometimes in Dream Realm or Ravage Realm, there may come a day where we need to run Eagle Charms on twins. At least in the previous seasons, it has been like that. Fortunately for us this season, Sorcery Charms have always been best, which is good news. But yeah, and you can also run twins with Sorcery Charms in PvP. They're fine with it, but Eagle Charms technically are better because it also gives more tankiness to the twins. Wizard Charms onto Damien if you're running him. Those are important. Those are the best. Sturdy Charms onto Coco. That is important. Increase her energy recovery and also her tankiness. Vigorous Charms onto Mikola. If you're running her in PvP, yes, because if you're using Mikola in PvP, you're using her as a support. And you want her to just survive as long as possible to provide attack buff, haste buff, and other buffs for your team. So Vigorous. And then Faye Recovering Charms if you're using her in PvP. And Faye can work in PvP, honestly. She has good buffing capability and even melee damage boosting charms. Okay, finally we have the warriors. So we have Perseus, who wants to have the arcane charms. Those are definitely the best charms for him for increasing his damage. Baelran with the vigorous charms. However, honestly speaking, I'm running Baelran in PvP, even my Supreme Arena defense right now, and I'm running it with the insight charms. He's still demolishing teams with insight charms. So like, you don't need to go for vigorous charms, but technically I can understand how it should technically be the best. It makes Baelran even tankier. However, yeah, Insight Charms definitely get the job done as well. And Insight Charms actually are probably a more offensive option. And then we have Harak with the Butcher Charms. Now for Dream Realm so far, he's been wanting to be on the Balance Charms. And again, those can work well in PvP as well. Like, I wouldn't say, crop the Butcher Charms just because there's such a big difference compared to Balance Charm for PvP. They're pretty similar. So I would just stick to the Balance Charm. But yeah, Butcher probably technically is best for PvP. For Harak, Reaper Charms on Igor, and that's what I'm running as well for my Clash Runs team. And that's what I recommend. Insight Charms onto Zandrock. Yes, that increases, I think, the buffs value that he provides to allies. I think the HP buff that he provides to allies, and it increases his own tankiness. So yeah, Insight Charms onto Zandrock. So they've gone for Balance Charms onto this Zoria. I've gone for the Iron Wall Charms, which are the the yellow chest. You know, the yellow chest icon. That's what I went for because that increases her crit resist, increases her defenses. Basically just to make her more stall as possible. Balance Charms for Zoria would basically give her more health. So she would stall a bit more effectively and give her more attack, so her damage is slightly higher. But because I don't know, I just went for the tankiest charm set that she had, which was the Iron Wall charm, just to make your team stall a bit better. But yeah, I mean, both are fine options. You have Vigorous Charms onto Talia. Yes, if you're using Talia, but Talia has major issues due to being shut down by true damage. So you can't really run her in PvP. But if you want to, Vigorous Charms, yes. Healer Charms onto Scarlita, that boosts her shielding she provides to allies, so you should do that. Arcane Charms onto Pang, I think that boosts the attack buff value he provides to allies when they reach over 850 energy, so that can be good. Blast Charms onto Corden, which are also best for boss content, so that's good news. You don't have to get a different set for him. Arcane Charms onto Velka, so if you're using Velka as a dedicated damage dealer for Dream Realm, you're going to have Gale Charms. However, for PvP, I do agree Arcane Charms are better because it increases the attack speed buff she provides to allies around her, and when you're using her in PvP, you're using her kind of like as an attack speed buffer. That's one of her major roles, and so the Arcane Charms are going to boost the value of that attack speed buffing, so that's it. And then we have Insight Charms on Balan. Definitely you want skill power in Balan because that can prolong the duration of his invincibility from 5 seconds up to 9 seconds, I believe. And that's crazy. He's going to stall even more effectively against enemies, and that has always been a good thing about Brutus. So guys, that is going to be it for the PvP charm rundown. It is going to be all basically the meta PvP heroes. And again, if you're wondering about the AFK stage heroes, the Dream Realm heroes, we've already made plenty of videos related to that. And you should, if you've been following along, you should already have those charms already, the best ones locked in. And so that all that is left is basically PvP, and that's what we went over in this video. So hopefully this is helpful. Good luck in your charm crafting, and if you have any other tips or any other heroes which maybe were not mentioned here, you can feel free to share that in the comment section. That is always much appreciated and can help others out. So thank you guys for watching. That's gonna be it for this video. And if you're thinking about making a purchase in AFK Journey, please use my affiliate link for the official Farlight store. This is the best way you can support me and also gain 5% bonus dragon crystals on your purchase. My affiliate link is in the description of this video in a pinned comment, and you can actually bookmark this link in your browser, and whenever you're planning to make a purchase, just return to the bookmark link and make your purchase. It will support me and be greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video, and until then, everyone, peace out for now.